What's going on, guys? I wanted to do a little quick handheld episode here, and I wanted to talk about a theory that's been on my mind for quite some time. And this is the theory of the microcycle. Now, you've heard of the supercycle, but I don't think we've heard quite enough about what a microcycle might be. And since we've had this correction down from 63K, I look back on the last about 2.5 years and I see that we might be in fairly different territory than the previous cycles. Now, there's not enough data on this to empirically prove it. However, I will say for sure that it feels as though instead of one big bull run like we saw with 2017, where pretty much there was a run from the beginning of the year through the end of the year, and that more or less the corrections were just short little blips on the radar. Whereas this time, if you look back at 2019 and then 2020 and now 2021, it feels as though there are these bullish waves. And these waves are not necessarily as long as prolonged, protracted bull runs that last for an entire year. They last for months, and they are actually spurred on by specific catalysts. In 2020, it was DeFi summer. In 2019, it was a lot of exchange tokens, some IEOs, a lot of Bitcoin leverage trading. And then in 2021 now, we've gotten this hedge against inflation narrative powered by people like MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor, as well as Elon Musk and Tesla. We've seen a lot of very powerful people hop on this Bitcoin inflation narrative. And it's really interesting to see how this was actually a bunch of mini cycles, not one big cycle. Of course, you could put them into a larger cycle, but that's not really what they were. 2019 had its little bear market retracement, you could say it. You had 2020 with DeFi summer, and then you had 2021 now, and we're getting this entirely new sort of retail-driven, L1-driven mania. There was all kinds of DeFi. Infused in there, of course, was NFTs and DWeb. There was a lot of really interesting projects that came to the foray here. It came to the frame. But the point is, in my opinion, that we might be looking at a phenomenon instead of one big bull run of a bunch of small bullish waves, each pushing to a newer and higher heights than the wave before it, and of course establishing some really important growth for the industry, yet each requiring its own set of catalysts and being vulnerable to significant pullbacks that last for, in this case, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know. It's hard to exactly say because, July 2019 was when we got the crash from about 14K down. And then it took us about 6-7 months before we really started moving back up from there in early 2020. But we didn't even turn fully bullish again until mid 2020. So if you think from there, then we had another about 3 or so months after the crash of DeFi summer before we got this wave of bullishness in December. I don't know, it's really hard to say until we see what happens next, but I wanted to share with you this theory that we might be experiencing a phenomenon that I'm going to call the microcycle instead of the supercycle, which essentially just refers to the fact that we might be getting a bunch of small waves. This, of course, would totally change your strategy as you experience these waves, knowing that each wave is doomed to be followed by some kind of dramatic correction. But on the whole, the actual deviation from the mean, the deviation from the trend becomes smaller and smaller over time until it becomes more of a steady grind upwards instead of parabolic growth. So in this particular view of the world, in this particular view of the crypto markets, this might mean that you really need to develop your profit-taking strategies for the next bullish wave, because if we are to get these wild bull cycles and these wild bear cycles, but they become kind of more rapid, that really gives you as an investor or trader the opportunity to stash some profits on the way up, and then of course, to really be ready to buy the dip when things get really bloody and terrible out and the weather turns sour in crypto land. That gives you an opportunity to buy in, knowing that maybe you're not going to have 3 years of bear market ahead of you, but instead you'll get just a few months before these asset prices return to extremely, frothy, exciting times. And so that presents a really, big opportunity to invest at the lows and, really to take advantage of and take profits from your coins at the highs without these huge multi-year trends that you have to worry about. Maybe you can get more quick gratification out of the cycle. Maybe it means that there would be less profits, and maybe it means that this is becoming a more normal, more reliable growth cycle. So who knows? This is not proven out by data just yet, but this is a theory that's been on my mind, something I'm calling the microcycle. I also wanted to get some vitamin D out here on my roof, and so you guys are joining me. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, give me a like. Remember, we're giving away the ledger, so comment below if you want a ledger. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more updates, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.